again. This is CityReachers TV, and I'm Irene Vincent, and sitting here is Natalie Hardy. She's got something to tell you before I go much further.
Yeah, next month on August 18th at 6 p.m. we're going to be doing a united prayer service, prayer meeting, and it's going to be held at the Restoring Church located at 8308 Fredericksburg Road. So we're inviting you to join us there as we pray over San Antonio. Our theme is exalting Jesus over the city of San Antonio, and we invite you to come with us. Let us exalt his name together.
Hallelujah. Yes, we agree. Well, today, viewers, we've got a treat for you. I've got Mr. Brent Fessler sitting next to me here. Now, he is from Hallmark University. Now, you've got a remarkable title, which I will leave you to say all by yourself, because I will get tongue-tied saying it. But he used to be the president, but he has given that place to somebody else and taken on something which I believe so much more fires your spirit.
Yep.
Yes? And so you are the
Chief Advancement and Institutional Effectiveness Officer.
You wouldn't want to say that either, would you? Brent, I know that you've got a passion for seeing this Hallmark University, which is a very unusual, specific kind of university in our city, which you probably have driven past it on I-10 and may not even have noticed, but there is a little treasure chest in our city, and it's called Hallmark University, and I want us to talk about that today because I know it'll bless you. It may well bless somebody in your family who could well go there one day. Well, tell us about Hallmark. You're celebrating 50 years.
50 years, yeah.
Wow, that's a long time.
I'm not celebrating 50 years.
No, I was beginning to wonder that.
Just to clarify.
Yes, okay. The university is celebrating
It sure
50
is.
years. And so, tell us, how did it begin?
Yeah, well, September 18th, 1969. A lot of cool stuff going on that year. We're celebrating the moon landing right now, 50th anniversary of the moon landing. So a neat time, you know, that we talk about chronoses and kairoses and things, and I think that must have been a kairos time. My father, his parents were missionaries in Latin America, and he was on track to become a missionary pilot, so he had his pilot's license and industries in San Antonio that need a workforce. Often what has happened in San Antonio as the IT industry has boomed, and you get companies like Rackspace start, they've had to import a lot of their workforce because it wasn't just natively ready here in San Antonio. And so we try to respond to that as a university to really build the workforce that the growing industries here in San Antonio need.
Well, knowing what has happened in the city and what is happening, you guys have been vital, I would think, in making San Antonio who she is in the city.
Yeah. I would say that the aviation industry that is very strong in San Antonio, we as San Antonians, we often don't know the history of aviation here, but it wouldn't exist as we know it without all the efforts at Hallmark University.
Wow. Talk a little bit about that, because as you said, most people don't realize it.
They don't. The orange hangars over on 281 that everybody sees, D. Howard, which is now ST Engineering, that the history of that organization really changed aviation all over the world, especially business and corporate aviation. Charles Lindbergh flew out of here, the very first military flight ever.
Really? I didn't know that.
Over at Fort Sam.
Wow. Goodness.
It was one of the Wright brothers airplane, and they brought it here to. So the first actual Army, military individual flying an airplane happened right here in San Antonio, and so it's been a history and just the roots here.
Quite amazing, but all the more reason why we should have the Air Force Base here, right?
Yes. Yeah, absolutely. So from a maintenance, from an innovation, from actual flight operations on the military side to the innovation on the civilian side, there's thousands of people who work here in aviation. And really, to be honest, it's plateaued recently. It plateaued over the last couple decades. And recently, in the last year, it has really taken off again. And so we have employers here in San Antonio that are hiring complete graduating classes. and so we'll take the whole class.
Wow.
The Boeing here is building the new Air Force One, and they do a lot of work on C-17s, Standard Aero, ST Engineering, and of course the Air Force itself. All of them are just growing like crazy right now.
That's quite amazing.
So, when a young man goes into this kind of training for this sort of engineering, he's being trained to be able to work on any plane.
That's right. It's a pretty general FAA license, kind of like nursing, and then you go and specialize usually after you get that license. But it is a regulated field, so you need that license to really be able to work on aircraft. But they're usually split up into power plant, which are their engines, or airframe, which are more the structural parts, and then also avionics.
Okay, and now you yourself are an engineer. You trained as an engineer.
I trained as an engineer.
Yes.
I'm also a pilot.
And okay, so you are then sort of understanding what's going on here in a very real way. Yes.
Yeah. So being on the flying end, the people who work on your aircraft, you put a lot of trust into them.
Right.
You do.
Not just with your own life, but you put your family in the aircraft as well.
Yeah.
And we use that to start talking to our students about that you're not just learning a skill.
No.
People are placing their trust in you and your character. And we'll probably talk about character in a little bit, but that when you think education, well, you're just teaching people skills. How do you really bring eternity into that? And I think we'll talk a little bit about how that all comes together.
Yeah, because this is fundamentally a Christian-based place. And so, therefore, teaching engineering students, and from a Christian point of view, that's quite an interesting idea. And so, I know, because I've walked around Hallmark University, and you are confronted with the fact that it is necessary for you to shift your character and get in line.
It is.
And on every wall, you are being taught.
You are, and really our. So character is the vehicle that we use there. So real quick, our educational model it reflects the biblical three-part being. Where we are spirit, soul, and body. In education speak, we call that character, which represents really the heart of the person. And then we talk about knowledge, which is more the soul of the person, and then skills, which is where you interface with the physical world. Right. So your skills. My skills interface, my knowledge tells me kind of how to apply my skills, but my character tells me why I do those things. And so we address all three of those, because if all you do is teach somebody skills, you're just putting a facade onto something that doesn't necessarily have the foundation or have the framework. And so I think sometimes we miss it. We miss it in higher education in general, when we have forgotten to focus on character and values. And when you look back at the founding of America, and you look at why those universities existed and the primary charge that they had, it had to do with being in a free country. And so this experiment of having these great freedoms, all of our founding fathers were saying, this experiment in freedom cannot work unless we have a people with character, unless we have a people with values or virtue, as the term the virtue. And so they said we need an education system that develops the virtues and the character of our population, so that we can maintain these freedoms. Because otherwise, your amount of character is. I'll put my engineering. I'll talk nerd for a second. I'll nerd out. If you have this much character, you only need this many rules, right? Because you can depend on the heart of the person and the character of the person. But if you have this much character, you got to have this many rules, right? So your freedoms go away when your population does not have the character to function from, right?
And I think even those who've never heard that kind of thing before would resonate with exactly what you've said.
Absolutely.
They would.
Absolutely.
Like some chap off the street who comes in and says, okay, I want to be a student here, I think he would resonate.
Well, so what they do resonate with. So all of our students come to the university for a career.
Yes.
That's why they come.
Not for just an education.
Not just an education. No. They're really, and we ask them every class start, why are you here? Are you here for a degree? Are you here to get character education, or are you here for a great career? 99% they all say, I'm here for a great career. So we know that's why they're there. They're not there for character development. And character development is not fun. It's not easy. It's the deeper you go into a person, the more challenging and the difficult it is to actually develop somebody's character.
Yeah, you've got to die.
You have to die yourself, right? Exactly.
That's right.
So we've also talked to hundreds of employers and asked them, which do you care about most, character or skills? And the data, as you might expect, well, yeah, most are going to say they want character, but it's not just most. It's every employer out of hundreds that we've talked to, they say character is more important than skills. We know what we do. We can teach somebody how to do what we do.
Sure.
But this character thing, we'll take somebody over character and teach them what we do versus somebody who is a rock star and has no character.
So how difficult has it been for Hallmark University to teach character? Because we're talking college.
Right.
They should have some character through elementary school by the time they get to college. So what are you finding with people coming to Hallmark?
Well, there's just a broad spectrum of folks coming in, and start thinking about our philosophy when it comes to character to answer that. So I'll step back for a second. Our character is a faith-neutral presentation, but it is 100% rooted in 1 Corinthians 13 love. Love is patient and kind, not jealous, boastful, or proud or rude. But we actually tried to roll out a program that was called Love, and talk about love, and we had all kinds of pushback, because really it had to do with our understanding in this culture, in this ethos of love, and it is not the biblical love, and so it was just okay. We're losing something in the translation here, so we actually went to work and translated that whole passage into these traits and definitions that are very easily understood. And like you said earlier, when you present these to folks, they say, well, yeah, that makes perfect sense. Integrity, dependability, the way we talk about being a leader or being a servant or being a communicator, being agile, all of those character traits. And there's nothing sacred about those 7 words except that they all trace back to 1 Corinthians 13. Love never fails. It is our single commandment. It is who God is.
That's
right. And so when we talk to employers and we present these traits and definitions, and they say, yeah, that's who I want working for me. They don't realize they're saying, I want Christ in my workplace. But that's really what it is. It's Christ's character. And so I've danced around a little bit. So students coming in, they say, I want a career. Employers say, we want character. So students, we tell them, okay, for you to get this career that you came for, they want character more than skills. So yes, you're going to learn skills, but more importantly, you need character. So the more character you can develop, the more character you can demonstrate, the more you're going to get paid, right? So
Awesome.
you get promoted, right?
It's
the carrot, and it's the truth. It's the reality out there. And so that's, otherwise you're going to say, hey, you're going to have to work really hard on dying to self, on all these other things. No, that's not why I came here.
So how do you teach character in a university setting? Because we know what we're talking about. It's a lifestyle. You die to yourself. How do you teach that?
How do you teach it?
And can I just add one thing? Your students are not all just straight out of school, aren't they?
No,
Some of them are a lot more mature.
We have the most diverse student population in town when you look at the data. When you look at both ethnicity and age and gender and geographic, we have the most diverse population.
That makes the difficulty in doing this even more, because they have a longer life experience in walking in one way, and now you're saying you're going to walk the other way.
They do.
Yeah.
So there's a lot there. Yeah, you have much more diverse backgrounds, people coming in from all walks. but you also have a broader maturity range coming in. So when I went to
Okay.
college, I was in a vacuum of 18-year-olds who were on their own for the first time. We had no character, right? With university faculty who were also somewhat in a vacuum, somewhat disconnected. So it wasn't a real world. It wasn't a real world. And here at Hallmark, we do have those 18-year-olds straight out of school, but we also have single moms. And we also have veterans who may have been overseas in Afghanistan, 3 months ago.
Okay.
And so that diversity really comes out in the classroom as a perspective of, this character really does matter. It doesn't mean that they have it coming in, but how we deliver it. So that's the question.
It is.
That's the question.
That's
It's a big thing, and so we go back often, and we meet weekly. So here's the thing. Strategically, as an organization, in order to do this, it means we have to be committed to it. So it's got to be an institutional goal. It's got to be written down. This is what we are doing. We're committing resources and budget and staff. It's on people's job descriptions. And so when it comes to developing somebody else's character, first, it has to be demonstrated.
Amen.
It's not that, yes, you can teach about it and say, here's a definition of character. And that's important, all right? But you can't just say, okay, this is what you do, now go and do it. It has to be taught. And we feel like Mark 4 is incredibly applicable here, because we're talking about the seed of love going in, and then the seed of the word going in, and we want that to sprout and come out as Christ's love in them. And so the condition of the heart of our students is very, very impactful, and we're getting a broad range. We have some who have gone through trauma from various stages, and they may be more like hard soil, right? Because I've already lost trust, and so I'm going to reject, because character really has to do with, it's a vulnerable thing to serve somebody. It's a vulnerable thing to have integrity when it may be to your detriment to do that. It's a vulnerable thing to serve and to place yourself in Christ's love. And it's difficult to trust those if you've gone through trauma. And so you can say the student's 100% at fault or owns the state of their soil, or you can start to say, do we have a role in the condition of their soul, of their soil? So if you look at the thorny, what were the thorns about? The thorns were about the cares of this world, right? And when you look at how many students fail or drop out of school because of the cares of not because there's really anything wrong, but they're dealing with life, right? And so we have to recognize, hey, we need to take care of some of these thorns so that we can start working on their character. And so we help get the thorns out by connecting them with the right services. They need child care, they need transportation, or all these things. And when we hear students all the time, I've never had anybody invest in me like this. I've never had anybody demonstrate, and they don't necessarily express it this way, but nobody's ever cared for me like this. And so when they start feeling the love, they start opening themselves up to also practicing it and demonstrating it. So I believe we are all wired up to respond to Christ's love, but we're born empty of it.
That's right.
Okay, so we are born empty, and it's up. That's why as parents we start filling that love in. But some of us grew up not ever having that filled in. So I believe that we are 100%. We're if you look at you've got a plug on your computer and it only plugs in one way, right? We are wired up like that for Christ's love. There's only one thing that really plugs into that, but we're born without being plugged into it, and it's our job really in this world to demonstrate that love. And when you look at how Jesus operated, right? He didn't argue anybody into the kingdom. He demonstrated the love. They came because of the miracles. They came because of the love that they felt. And once they felt that, it actually cultivated their soil to be able to hear the love and to hear the message and then actually go in
And change.
and change them in their fruit.
That, and you do all that without preaching.
Well,
Well, there's,
So-
didn't Sister Mother Teresa say you can preach in a variety of ways,
Yeah.
basically, you know,
Yeah.
where you live is a message.
so we can't preach until
No.
we do that.
That's
No.
right. That's
No.
right.
We can't preach until we do it. We
No,
do
you've
preach.
got to live it.
We do
You do
preach.
preach.
We do preach. We started doing worship services
Yeah.
about a year and a half
Yeah,
ago
yeah,
at the university.
yeah.
Yep.
You've
Yeah,
come to
yeah,
some of them.
Yeah.
And
I would have come to more if I knew exactly when they were.
we just last month had 140 students in
Oh,
at
really?
That is thrilling.
Wow.
That
and
is thrilling.
it's optional. We do free food.
Uh-huh.
Okay. So come for a little Thai food or some pizza, and that doesn't hurt. But they come in, and it's optional, and they hear and they feel God's presence. They hear a short message, and they're not open to that unless they have felt our love towards them, right? So you have to earn the right. You have to earn the right to speak into somebody's life.
I'm sure you see many really getting converted before they leave there.
That the life change does not happen because they learned how to install a Microsoft
No,
Exchange server.
No.
We've never had a student say, "Man, when you taught me that really changed my life." They get a job for skills like that, but they do say this character thing. It showed me that I was not a good father, or I was not a good mother, and it changed my life there. And now I see my kids totally differently, and I'm investing in them. And you hear stories like, "Oh, well, did you get a job?" It's like, well, yeah, I got a job, right? and that's the reason why they came in the first place.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
it's shifted now
Yes.
as this life starts changing.
And you have students for a short time, right?
We do.
And so you're doing a whole lot in what, 2 years, 3 years?
So bachelor degree in 28 months. Yeah.
That's
Associate degrees in
amazing.
14.
Amazing.
Yep.
That is incredible. They
Yep.
must work hard.
They do work hard. Often it's the hardest they've ever worked in their life.
Okay.
And that's, but it's not crazy hard. It's just it is engaging.
Especially if they've got other family responsibilities, some of them. Yes.
That's right. That's right. We do day and evening so that they have flexibility, and we do our best to not make it extra hard. Right? You can make it hard for no reason.
Sure.
And, so we do our best to be efficient with the way that we educate without lowering the bar. I mean, the FAA is not going to move their bar. The Board of Nursing is not going to move their bar. So you still have to have the outcomes.
So you have 4 different career tracks, right? Business, aeronautics, healthcare, and information technology.
That's right.
And so is there one that's more popular than the other, or are they all doing equally very well?
It's fairly well balanced, and some of it tracks industry and people's awareness of the industry. So really, our programs are really, relatively balanced between those 4 areas. Our IT program is our biggest,
Oh, really? Okay.
and right now that's the easiest for us to recruit students into because it's exciting, it's techy, and
It's now.
and aviation is. We have challenges sometimes in aviation because of the kind of the stigma. It's a mechanic
Yeah.
kind of a thing, and it's an associate's degree, and you get the kind of this grease monkey kind of stigma.
Sure.
But when you're working on $50 million aircraft, and right out of school you're making $45,000 a year, and you can go anywhere in the world with it, and you can lead multi-billion-dollar organizations in just a couple of decades. There, I think I'd love to be able to reach more students and let them experience really what being an aviation technician is about. And some people use that word mechanic, and feels like you're working in a garage. Or
I've heard somebody do that, and so I'm glad you said that. I need to show them this video.
But that program, that aviation program, allows us to do some really cool stuff. We just graduated our first early college cohort, and that is a program that was with Northeast ISD, and it continues. We've also expanded it now into San Antonio ISD.
Really?
And so we have students coming onto our campus every morning for 3 hours, and by the time so as juniors and seniors, by the time they graduate high school, they've already knocked out their freshman year of college.
Oh.
And they're only about 10 or 11 months away from
Wow.
2 associate degrees and a $45,000 career.
That is amazing.
Right.
I should think
Amazing.
a lot of mums will be thinking, come on, this is a way for you to go.
It is.
You don't want to stay at school.
And that allows us to really expand our reach and open our doors to more students who would not normally be considering. And those kids coming out of that, it's called Aero Chi, kids coming out of that program, this first graduating class, about 80 to 90% of the graduating class are continuing and pursuing that career. And you know, without that program, they would not have been thinking about that. They would have been thinking, I don't know what I'm going to do right now. And they are financially really set.
I guess some of them may even have dropped out of school. For other things, this would hold them in school.
Well, yeah.
For interest.
Because it's not just that you're giving them an opportunity, you're bringing them into this environment where, and they experience success, and they're at the airport, they're smelling jet fumes, they're seeing our adult students there, and they're hearing from employers, and they really see a picture of what, man, I can do this, and what it means for me doing this is as I actually impact people's lives by the work of my hands, and I can actually make a difference, and my life matters here. My life has value. And so we've seen kids just mature in a really fascinating way from their junior year to finishing up their senior year. They're not even done with their college yet.
You started something on the east side of San Antonio.
Yep.
East side Cyberforce Prime, right?
That's right.
What is that?
So that is, it's a different model, but for the same purpose, really, for us to reach, expand the access to higher education and all the great things that happen at Hallmark. So quick background, well, we did a geomap of our students, where they were coming from in the city, and we saw not just a dip, but actually a hole in the zip codes on the east side. And so, and looking at that, is that a marketing issue? Do we need to market more over there in the zip codes? Is there just not a population there? And the answer to those were both no. There is a population there, and it's not a marketing thing, but it is sort of a marketing thing, but not just an advertising thing.
Right.
And so, about 6 months ago, there was a conference here on gleaning. I think you got to attend that talk on gleaning, the gleaning principle.
Yeah.
And really one of the big takeaways there is it's not just about having a program opportunity over here on this side of town and trying to bring people over. You actually come towards the people who have need. And so we can't just pick up a university and move it over there into a community that needs education, but we can bring a good chunk. And so the CyberForce Prime program is bringing cybersecurity education into a community that is not currently producing cybersecurity professionals, but you know that the potential is there.
Yeah.
And so really 3 big needs that we try to take care of with a program like this. One, if we all choose our careers really based on experiences that we've had, usually family members or close friends, people that we've seen. Or TV, right? So we've got a bunch of CSIs coming out of school that we don't have a job market for because of TV. And so if you've never experienced or known anybody in cybersecurity or in information technology, you're not likely to make that choice and go down that road. And so this program wants to bring employers over to introduce what cybersecurity is really all about. But then also open up the door and answer the questions, can I do this? And do I want to? Do I even want to do this? And so it's an introductory bridge program that teaches introductory skills. You're not career ready after this program, but you're job ready. So you can get a job and at least replace maybe the income that you're making in retail and get into IT, get into that industry. And while you're in that, keeping food on the table, you've answered the question, do I want to do this and can I do this? And then you can transfer directly into a full degree program. And so we've got employer partners there that are looking at hiring those graduates out of that program. We just graduated our first cohort out of that program.
Fantastic.
And all of the graduates are saying, this changed my outlook. Has changed. They're not quite saying it changed my life yet.
Not yet.
But they're saying, I want to do cyber. I want to do
That's
IT.
It's
awesome.
given them hope. It's given them,
That's
because probably they had no other thing in their sight, so this is
That's
wonderful.
That's right. And so we're excited about, that's how I think we need to innovate in higher ed is, higher ed in general is very narrow. As long as you fit through the door and you fit the shape of the door,
Right.
then you'll do well.
Yeah.
But our goal is to really open up the doors, and it's not just a cost thing. I think often higher ed is trying to open the door up by making college free, and it's not that.
Wow.
No.
It's not that.
No.
It's also because the door is narrow. You say, okay, let's make it free, but then you say, well, all these other people who don't fit, they're not college ready, or they're not college material. They're just, college isn't for you. And I think at Hallmark we're trying to flip that more and saying, well, those colleges aren't for you just because they're narrow. You need to look like us and fit like us. We're trying to. Our mission says we change individual lives. We know that every individual who walks that door is unique and infinitely valuable.
And do you do the character training in that kind of
Yes.
situation?
We do.
You do?
We do. It's
Okay,
it's a
so-
leaned out, because we only have a limited time.
Yeah, because I can understand it's a short course, yeah.
Of course.
Do you know, this is fascinating. Our time is just about running out on us here, but this is fascinating. And I think what an opportunity for our city.
It's true.
Think about the east side, and think about many people in our city without an opportunity, perhaps even to think of higher education, and this could be their answer. And I think, well, viewers, this is something worth you praying for, getting to know a little bit more about. Hallmark University is an answer to many young people's situations, for their education, for their future, for finding a job which will eventually give them a living wage and to be able to keep their families in a decent way. But thank the Lord for this. I just praise the Lord.
It's quite amazing, all the things that you're doing. And like Elaine said before, people drive past your location on IH10 and don't realize the treasure that they're driving by.
Yeah.
And then you have another location near the airport, right?
That's right.
Yeah.
That's
So,
right.
Yeah.
And I mean, you have an eternal impact when you send somebody to us.
That's awesome.
And that's
Yeah.
incredible. That is incredible. And it's not church either.
That's right.
It's
Yeah, it is.
That's right. Church in action.
It is church.
It is
That's
church.
right.
It is
That's
the
right.
church
That's
in
right.
the society.
That's the
That's
thing,
right.
and
That's
that, that's what's really been driving us is that the people aren't coming to our church.
No.
The church has to go to them.
Yeah.
All right, it's got to be in our workplace. It's got to be in our
Yeah.
profession. It's in the work of our hands.
Yeah.
And we're out there. We have to take our enterprise and our
Yeah.
service, and that is the church. That is the church.
Yeah.
And that we bring church to
You're
them.
manifesting
I'm a
Jesus.
pastor.
Oh,
I'm a
yeah.
pastor.
That's
right.
Our stakeholders are our congregants.
Yes.
I'm responsible for them.
Yes.
But there's a grace for it too.
Yeah.
The moment, and just to encourage the viewers,
Yeah.
when you step into it, the grace comes with it. And that's a prophetic word. When you step into
That's
Yeah.
it.
this role and
Yeah.
actually pastor your stakeholders, pastor your customers,
Yeah.
pastor your coworkers,
Yeah.
the grace comes with it.
Yeah.
Hallelujah. Wow.
And that's exactly who we are. We are salt and light in this world. We are a manifestation of Jesus, and it's not just on Sunday morning.
That's right.
And we are the church.
We
We're
are.
the church
Yep.
in society.
Wow.
We're the body of Christ, showing forth the glory of Him. And Father, we just want to thank you. We thank you for Hallmark University. I thank you for dear Brent Fessler here, and for the passion of his heart to see transformation in people's lives and in our city. And I just praise you for this. And Father, we ask for the divine blessing of God upon that work. And Lord, I know there's plans and in the pipeline for future developments, Lord, all kinds of things. And Lord, I just pray for blessing upon that, for the staff to come forward, for the right people, the right influence in society, and the right provision. We just ask you for all of that. Thank you, Father, for this. And we just bless your name.
Yes, we do.
Amen.
Amen.
Well, before we just close this program today, I think, Natalie, you want to announce our prayer time?
Yeah, I just want to say, as you're praying for the city, you're praying for places like Hallmark University.
Yes, that's right.
And the prayer that we're praying in San Antonio begins to impact Hallmark and other institutions in our city to be who we are called of God to be. So we're inviting you to join us on August 18th for a time of united citywide prayer. It's going to be held at the Restoring Church at 8308 Fredericksburg Road. And it's going to be worship and prayer. So come and we're going to be praying over these different areas of society, but the focus is going to be exalting Jesus over San Antonio. And so you can be a part of that. Come on, I invite you.
Great. Well, I hope you've enjoyed our program again. Well, we'll be here again next month. And bless you for watching. This is CityReachers for the love of San Antonio. Bless you.